Stop. For a brief moment, suspend your attention and observe the data. Look closely at the numbers dominating your financial statements. This is not merely an arithmetic report of expenditure. It is a stark, undeniable confession. We are currently experiencing a state of national crisis, an erosion of the fundamental promise upon which modern Britain was constructed. It is the insidious feeling that despite relentless labour, personal progress is being systematically reversed. Every evening, news bulletins across the nation dutifully inform the public that the cost of living crisis is perhaps beginning to ease, a narrative frequently echoed by major media outlets. Yet, when one analyses the empirical data of personal bills, household wages, and individual quality of life, the objective truth emerges. Britain is definitively on the brink. This trajectory is neither coincidental nor accidental. This is not solely the result of global volatility or lingering pandemic effects. This state of affairs is the predictable consequence of sustained, deliberate policy. Policy engineered by a structural phenomenon we define as class politics. We are here to pose the critical question: who is accumulating wealth from your systemic hardship, and what methodology is required to reclaim economic justice? Welcome to the ultimate systematic investigation. Welcome to Britain on the brink. Let us commence with the primary fallacy currently defining our economy: the notion that economic struggle is a shared burden. The cost of living crisis is demonstrably not uniform across all demographics. While millions contend with escalating energy costs and persistent, unacceptable inflation, a specific cohort is experiencing unprecedented profitability. Consider the data from the latest news events. As the Bank of England institutes successive interest rate increases, thereby imposing crippling repayments upon mortgage holders, major energy conglomerates, such as Shell and BP, simultaneously declare record profits. These earnings are distributed as shareholder dividends, totaling billions. This is not the delineation of a balanced economy. It is the function of a refined wealth transfer mechanism. We are frequently instructed that general wage suppression is necessary to mitigate inflation. However, an objective analysis of the increasing prevalence of zero-hour contracts and the dramatic recentralization of labor power indicates the converse. Average wages consistently lag behind gains in productivity. Prominent political figures, ranging from the current Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, to the leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer, frequently advocate for abstract fiscal responsibility. Yet, they seldom scrutinize the corresponding responsibility of the corporations that benefit immensely from historically reduced corporation tax rates. The simple, unvarnished truth is that capital is being generated. It is simply not being directed toward the citizenry. This asymmetrical economic framework is the foundational pillar of class politics, the systematic management of the national economy, primarily for the accrued benefit of capital owners, which is effectively subsidized by the sacrifice of the majority population. The second critical dimension of the ongoing crisis is the quantifiable degradation of the social safety net, the very infrastructure of public life intended to ensure stability within Britain. No single institution better illustrates this decline than the NHS crisis. For decades, successive political administrations, guided by the rigid ideology of austerity, intentionally diminished the financial resources allocated to the health service. Today, emergency service response times are critically non-compliant. The professional labour force, nurses and doctors, are systemically undervalued, leaving in droves. This is not merely a logistical oversight, it is fundamentally a political determination. When essential public services are deliberately compromised, equitable access becomes directly proportional to individual wealth. If one possesses the capital for private insurance, one can mitigate the risk. If one does not, one must endure the potentially fatal wait. This is the manifestation of class politics in its most direct and consequential form. Furthermore, consider the housing ladder. For an entire generation, the foundational premise of home ownership has become an unattainable fantasy. The average entry age for a first-time buyer continues its upward trajectory. Why? Because public policy has consistently prioritized the interests of large buy-to-let landlords and tolerated unregulated property speculation. When figures like Rishi Sunak or Keir Starmer discuss getting Britain building, they habitually fail to address the core dysfunction. Housing is treated primarily as a mechanism for generating speculative wealth rather than being managed as a basic, non-negotiable human right. The inevitable result is the perpetuation of a dependent renter class, which functionally subsidizes the returns of the wealthy asset-owning class. This represents the structural inequality inherent in modern Britain. To effectively identify the required solution, we must cease the ephemeral argument regarding partisan politics and examine the underlying operational code, the class politics that functionally binds all ruling factions. This system is maintained and perpetuated not solely by elected politicians, but through a dense network of corporate interests, media proprietors, and highly influential think tanks. When a senior political figure formalizes a key decision regarding, for instance, corporation tax, this determination is rarely made in isolation. It is the result of years of sustained lobbying and political influence, often carefully insulated from direct public scrutiny. Therefore, the real news is not merely what is broadcast on the nightly news program. The true narrative lies in analyzing why the established media complex consistently frames the cost of living crisis as a consequence of external factors, such as industrial action or immigration, rather than presenting it as a direct result of corporate profiteering and deliberate political inaction. This strategic deflection shifts the blame away from the highest echelons of power. This is the sophisticated mechanism by which the class politics infrastructure ensures that public discourse remains perpetually focused on the symptoms, never the systemic ailment itself. The ability to comprehend this underlying system, the precise rules of the economic and political game, is the most crucial foundational step toward achieving economic justice. It is axiomatic that one cannot effectively challenge a system until one understands its intricate operational blueprint. Yet, there remains a compelling rationale for optimism. The acquisition of truth itself constitutes a vital weapon. And once the functional rules of class politics are fully internalized, the potential to effectively challenge and overcome them becomes a tangible reality. The effective path forward is delineated by three necessary components: access to real news, coordinated collective action, and a non-negotiable demand for genuine economic justice. This imperative requires rejecting the austerity narrative, insisting upon authentic large-scale investment in public services, and ensuring that those entities possessing the greatest capacity to contribute, the multinational corporations and global billionaires, are compelled to discharge their fiscal duty. This fundamental struggle is currently unfolding in every community, within every workplace, and crucially within the digital domain itself. We cannot passively await rescue from the political establishment in Westminster. Profound change originates from collective action below. Everything we've discussed today, the granular analysis of wage stagnation, the intentional failure of the housing ladder, and the relentless logic of class politics, is contained and explored further within our comprehensive series, Britain on the Brink. Access the link provided in the description and initiate your critical education today. This platform offers more than mere news. It provides a strategic toolkit for understanding and engaging in the necessary resistance. To expand your understanding of the historical genesis of this political crisis, we highly recommend our video on the legacy of austerity, how Britain broke the NHS. Furthermore, for a broader contextual analysis of global power structures, please view our documentary on the shadowy network of global think tanks that exert worldwide political influence. Subscribe to our channel to remain comprehensively informed, intellectually engaged, and prepared for the essential fight for economic justice. Thank you for observing. The critical conversation commences now.